Good Work Show. We have a good one for you. 2 organizations that are working in the space to help people with their health and improve it. And probably, I guess, an organization that you might have heard of, maybe especially in Atlanta. They might probably have heard of both of them, I think.
Oh, I didn't know which one you were talking about, so I couldn't agree or disagree.
Yeah, but I think because I've heard of Good Samaritan before. I didn't know what they. I assumed what they did, but I didn't know to the level.
Well, they do a lot.
Yes.
I think that was the thing that I wasn't. I didn't know how much they did, and not just in the health space, but just the overall
Yeah, so they'll be on
soup
the show.
to nuts.
Yeah,
that's right. Soup to nuts.
and that's what they say. Yeah.
Why do people say that?
I feel because nuts are at the end of the meal.
Do you eat nuts at the end of a meal?
No, I think that was like back in the day. I think that used to be a thing.
Is nobody Googling this? What's going on? Somebody should. Usually we would have had an answer by now. Why did
I feel like that's like the olden days. Like,
well, you finished.
You know, your great grandma probably served. You know how your grandma had
peanuts.
Wait a minute, but they had those. Everybody grandma had that crystal dish.
Grandma.
Everybody grandma had the crystal
dish. Peanuts.
Or like the candy in there, the mints.
Oh yeah. Of course. So and it was like that heavy crystal. And it's like, why did you we live on a dirt road. Why do we have a crystal thing
all around the holidays? They had the little Christmas candy in it around the house.
Yes.
And the walnuts and the different.
We had pecans because, we
had the assorted nuts. So
we had the pecans that came off the tree at my grandmother's house because there was a pecan tree.
But there was never the cracker around. It was just the nut milk.
Oh, no. See, these were those good North Florida, South Georgia pecans.
That you can put two of them together.
Put two, the paper shells. You could put two in your hand and crack them.
I grew up in California. You had to have the cracker, but the cracker was all. The cracker was the one.
It was faulty. It was sweet. The spring had gone
it's
long.
The one with that, like the 2 things. Yeah. You can't
crack anything. No. Like, for some reason, my daddy used to get Brazil nuts, and I still like them to this day. I love Brazil nuts.
Brazil nuts, you could not crack a
Brazil
get a
nut.
hammer.
Yeah, you cannot crack a Brazil nut. But we had so things that growing up in Florida.
I'm sorry.
We've segued.
Get off of the Brazil nut.
But no. But hold on. Things growing up in Florida, I didn't realize that I used to basically get for free that I didn't know people paid for.
The pecans, so you thought they were free. So don't tell me you stole them at the grocery store.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But I was shocked when I went to a grocery store and saw how much pecans cost. So, like, a pound of pecans in the shell are like $12.
Yes.
And I was like, but my grandmama has a tree.
And you could just
we would just
get them off the ground.
Right. That and mangoes.
Yeah.
Everybody had a mango tree in the backyard. Mm-hmm. So people were always giving away mangoes. It's like, oh, I have a grocery bag full of mangoes. Please take them. So when I moved to DC the first time, I was like, you want $1 for one mango? For one breakfast mango, you want $1.
A breakfast mango? Is that what it's called?
One mango for breakfast.
Oh.
It's like if I wanted to mango. If I wanted to have
a thing.
It's not. But if I wanted to have a mango for breakfast, I have to pay $1 for. Yeah, that was
well, anyways,
shock to the system.
I know. So Brianna,
yes, pecans. Yes.
Brianna Lathrop is the COO of Good Samaritan Health Center, and she's going to come on the show. And then after that, Annie Long, who is the Senior Community Program Manager for Parkinson's Foundation, is going to come on the show. And I'm super interested in that family history of Parkinson's. And so I'm just excited to hear about what the foundation is doing, and then also what they're doing as far as the research and the benefits to people who have been diagnosed. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed away from Parkinson's, but, was later on in life. And so there wasn't a whole lot that, we knew about the disease. And quite honestly, if I could go back, we'd probably do a whole lot of things differently. But anyway, I'm just interested to see, because it sounds like they have some really cool, interesting programs for people who are living with Parkinson's, and then about the research. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, especially who, I guess, get diagnosed earlier on in life, and you've got a long time to live and to adapt and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be really interesting to see what Annie has to say about that. 2 great organizations here in town doing really good work, which is, what we do every week. So the only thing different is who we're talking to.
Oh, I thought you meant we do great work every week.
Well,
I mean,
we
fair.
do, but I'm just saying that like the organizations
We
every
talk
week,
to organizations.
we talk to organizations who are doing good work
every week.
That's
right.
And in the midst, we do good stuff too.
Yes. In fact, we opened our new career center, Old National Highway, a couple days ago. So if you know anybody who is looking for a job, needs help getting a better job, wants to get on a career path, and they are in that South Fulton area, anywhere close there, please visit our Old National Career Center. It's newly opened. Great opportunity for them to go in for free. There's no charge for anybody to use the resources there. And we want to help several thousand people this year get jobs through that career center. It's a resource made available by the fact that you donate and shop. So we'd love for you to continue to do that. Go Goodwilling, whatever that means to you, whether that means donating, whether that means shopping, whether that means volunteering, telling the story about Goodwill. Go Goodwilling, because every time you go Goodwilling, you are helping someone else get a job, get connected to a job, get a better job, get the training that they need to support themselves and their families. So looking forward to that. That's super exciting. And I mean, the news is already out, but we're going to build a career center off of Metropolitan Parkway. That's going to be coming probably next year because we're going to build it. So it takes a little while for the construction. But that's also an area where there's a lot of need in the city. And we always talk to organizations about the need. And we ask them, tell us about the scope of the issue. Right. And we keep hearing, in fact, recently there's been facts and figures, stories that have come out about how great the employment rate is and how people have jobs and they can readily find jobs. But there are still a lot of people who either don't have the skills, don't have the access, still really need the support in finding a job. And
or they're employed, but they're underemployed.
Yes.
And there's a lot of jobs out there that's available that are great jobs that people can't fill because they don't have enough trained the workforce isn't trained.
Exactly. So definitely a need in both of those communities, and we're so glad to be able to be there. So the support Goodwill in North Georgia, we're on the move. We're doing great things. You probably hear and see about the stores and donation centers all the time, and that is great. We want you to, because we want you to continue to support that, because that helps fund all of these free job training and employment resources that we're able to offer to the community. 25,000 people is our goal this year. It's a big goal, and we definitely want to be able to support those folks. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then we do have some new stores on the horizon. So we'll share that once we know more about that.
Like in the spring, maybe?
Yeah, so once we have some real dates, we will share that information. We're not hiding it from you. We
don't have the date.
We just don't know.
Right.
We just don't have the information.
It's coming soon.
But what we probably will be able to do, you probably will be able to donate at those locations, though, before the store opens. So once we have those details, we'll be sure to share that with you because, we like to make it convenient for people to donate with us. Mm-hmm. And we're going to put so that means you'll have a couple of additional donation centers in your neighborhood well before the store opens so that you can get accustomed to driving through there and dropping your stuff off and go on. And then once the store opens, you can just pull in the parking lot and go spend some money. So as soon as we have those dates, we'll share that as well.
Yeah. And if you don't think that there's a Goodwill near you, you're probably wrong.
You're not right. But the funny thing is, do you like drive around? Because I've been to a lot of our locations,
and
a lot
we
of our
have
stores.
and I'm saying that not jokingly, but everybody, look, we have like 120 some odd locations where you can donate. That's a lot.
But do you ever drive around? So the stores don't really take me by surprise anymore. It's like, because I've been to a lot of them. I've been to a lot of them.
You've been to most of them. I mean, you
probably.
There. They are.
But the ADCs always
sneak up on you?
They do. So like sometimes I'll be going someplace that I'm unfamiliar with in the city or whatever, and I turn and I'm like, oh, there's a Goodwill here. Like it happens fairly often where I'm just like, oh, there's another Goodwill here. So of course you're tuned in to see them.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for one,
go on the website.
You can't go very far in either direction. I'm pretty sure you can't go that far in any direction from your house without kind of rolling
within a
up
couple
on
miles.
Yeah.
Even at my house, and I live a little further out, I know where I can get to. I can get to two stores within 15 minutes or so. I mean, that's long for me. But if you live somewhere like where Trinice is, you probably get there in 5 minutes.
Well,
but it might take me
5 stores and
yes. It might take me 50, but I can get to 2 and an ADC, which is like That's good.
I'm trying to think, I can do 1, 2, 3, soon to be 4.
Right. Yeah.
4. I can probably get to 4 stores in about 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah. And if you don't know where they are, good tool, goodwillng.org or
/locations,
or go Goodwilling. Just type in goodwilling.org. You'll be able to get there. You can click on locations if you're not already on the locations page. All you got to do is put in your zip code.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to come up with a list of
and then you'll see the
they
list
are.
And you'll be like, oh.
Right. It's just right there. Like I'm close by it. Like it just.
I had breakfast with somebody who came in from out of town this morning, and we were talking about a number of things. And then she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go. That Goodwill is right there, the one in Buckhead. And I was like, yep.
Yeah,
you should go in there.
And spend a lot of money.
Please.
Right.
Spend all the money that you want to spend.
Exactly. And spend time in there too. So anyway, good shout out to our teams internally at Goodwill. We are happy to have opened that career center, but we want you, the community, to know that we're there and spread the word, because there are still people who need jobs, who need our help and services, and we'd love for them to get the word out. But in the interim, while we're on the show today, we're going to talk about the Parkinson's Foundation right after the break, and then we're going to talk about Good Samaritan Health Center. So stick with us. It's going to be a good show. You will learn something, as I think we will learn something along the way, but we want you to spread the good news about the good work that these people are doing. And at any point, come back and listen to some more shows.
Yeah, you can find us on social. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All those places is at Good
Work.
Work.
Are we on LinkedIn for Good Work Show?
We are, actually.
Really?
Yeah, we
on
are.
We have the Good Work Show LinkedIn?
We do.
Who's on it?
Some people.
Oh, okay.
Every once in a while, somebody's like, that's great. So shout out to Rashad.
I never shout out to Rashad because you doing something I didn't even know.
Absolutely. So check us out there and make sure you come back and catch us after the break.
Yes.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Good Work Show.
Audience, welcome back to the show. We are sitting here with Annie Long, who is from the Parkinson's Foundation, and she is the Senior Community Program Manager. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So I think probably everybody has heard of Parkinson's. And, probably more so after, celebrities have had it and, kind of heightened awareness for it. But what does the foundation do? So tell us about the Parkinson's Foundation and your mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So the mission of the Parkinson's Foundation is really to make life better for people with Parkinson's. So a lot of what we focus on is advancing research toward a cure. We focus on providing expert care to patients, making sure that patients have access to that care. And then, of course, through local chapters, like I'm part of our Georgia chapter, we provide support services and resources, things like that. So we do a lot.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. And for the whole state. So, yeah, that's quite a bit.
Yeah. So I focus on regional programming. So I focus on Georgia and the Carolinas, but our organization, we really have a global presence. So, a lot of what we do involves collaborating with centers of excellence, which we have all over the world. And those are medical institutions that, again, really focus on expert care. They want to know exactly what's working and what's not working when it comes to treating Parkinson's. Because people, unlike some diseases, people with Parkinson's can certainly live for a while. So knowing how to manage the disease is really of the utmost importance. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Great. Cool. So tell us a little bit about the history of the organization and kind of how it came to be. Some of the big foundations you hear about, whether it's ones focused on a particular condition or, we've talked to March of Dimes and they've got these long histories. So let's just talk a little bit about how somebody had an idea one day and what it's led to.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Parkinson's Foundation was actually formed several years ago through a merger between two national organizations that had been around for 50 plus years. The Parkinson's Disease Foundation and the National Parkinson's Foundation. And both of those organizations, they recognized that they were both doing really important work, that they had, similar missions and that they were better off together and really, uniting forces. And so they formed to create the Parkinson's Foundation. And we, revamped some of our messaging and branding just so that we could really unite and reach more people. I mean, ultimately, that's what we want to do. So
that's great. Sometimes you wish a lot of other nonprofits would do the same thing.
We hear that all the time.
There's a lot of people out there doing similar work,
Yeah.
and if you could band together, you could do a lot more. So good job.
Absolutely. Well, and, the great thing about the Parkinson's Foundation is, they do work really collaboratively with the other organizations. And when it comes to advocacy and, research for a cure, because, again, no one individual is going to find that cure, right? We have to work together to raise the funds necessary to invest in the research that needs to happen. So,
yeah. So I mentioned, before that, a lot of people have, whether they have a family member or not that's had Parkinson's, they probably know about it through celebrities. And but tell us a little bit about that. I personally have a story about Parkinson's. My grandmother passed away from Parkinson's, so I know a little bit about the disease. But for people who may have only experienced it through what they've seen on TV, can you break down a little bit of what it's about and how it affects folks?
Yeah, absolutely. And, for those of you guys who don't know, Parkinson's is the second most common neurodegenerative disease after Alzheimer's. So it is very common. And, thanks to, but really thanks to celebrities like Michael J. Fox, Muhammad Ali, who have really come out with their disease, and they've shared their journeys with the public. I mean, they've done a lot to raise awareness and to educate people. But Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative disease. So basically, the dopaminergic neurons in the brain are affected, and in a part of the brain called the substantia nigra, which is responsible. It's like our reward center, and our movement center. So as you can imagine, and when we start to lose these dopaminergic neurons, it becomes more difficult to do things that, you and I might take for granted. Something as simple as moving, or something as simple as sitting still without, a tremor. These are things that people with Parkinson's, can certainly struggle with. The interesting thing about Parkinson's, too, is it's often referred to as a snowflake disease because no two people are the same.
Mm-hmm.
You might meet somebody who's had Parkinson's for 5 years, and their symptoms are quite different than somebody who's had it for 15 years. I know my mom has Parkinson's disease, so that's kind of how I got involved, and she's doing incredibly well. She's had it for 6 years, and we're just like so thankful. But she also has access to the best neurologists, and she has access to fitness programs and all of the things that are allowing her to really live well with this. But yeah, it just varies, person to person. Some of the most common symptoms, I think that, you can really see, the motor symptoms involve tremor. If you see somebody's hand shake, slowness of movement or bradykinesia. Sometimes you notice a stooped posture. That's another sort of common symptom. Also issues with gait and balance. One of the obviously the complications as people progress with Parkinson's is they are more at risk of falling down, and that can be incredibly dangerous. I mean, especially if you fall and you hit your head. But they always say too, actually the symptoms that are the most difficult to live with are actually the ones you don't see. The non-motor complications, anxiety and depression being two of the most common symptoms of Parkinson's. So.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And, so much of what people learn these days are on TV because I don't know, anybody in my family has been affected, but we do see folks that are around us that you can actually see what they're dealing with and how they're working through it and how they're able to continue to thrive and be successful and, navigating all of the complications that may come from that or anything else. But one thing that you guys are working towards is a cure and actually doing the research necessary to make folks living with Parkinson's easier or making it so that nobody has to live with Parkinson's. So talk to us a little bit about the organizations have been around for a while. You guys have been doing research. So talk to us a little bit about the research milestones to date, and then we'll start talking about the future. But what kind of milestones have we reached already that's just making life maybe a little bit easier for people?
I would say the biggest milestones have to do with the treatment options that are now available. There are obviously medications that you can take to help manage the symptoms. No medication is really going to slow things down. Disease will march on. However, if you can live a good quality of life by taking these medications, I mean, that's fantastic. There's also surgical options. I don't know, you may have heard of DBS or deep brain stimulation. So that's actually a surgical intervention, so we've seen it work wonders. I mean, even for something as simple as a tremor. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of people actually in an operating room, and many times you're awake during this entire procedure, but you see sort of a tremor. And then once the surgeon gets this, wire in the right spot, all of a sudden the tremor calms. And so I would say the biggest advancements have to do with the therapies and treatments that are available. Obviously, the hope is to have a cure one day. But one of the things, and one of the reasons I fell in love with the Parkinson's Foundation, because different organizations, certainly have different missions and focuses, but I loved that emphasis on the here and now. We want to take care of people living with this disease, but we also want to invest in research to make sure that grandchildren and children don't necessarily have to suffer. So that's one of the things that I really liked about it. I believe in the research for the cure, but I also believe in taking care of the patient here and now. So
yeah, absolutely. So I think that is all the research is super important. And you mentioned something that's I it's near and dear to me, but the fitness part, because some of what I do on the side is actually fitness, but I know there's a lot of fitness around it, particularly boxing too. So, so can you talk a little bit about the connection between the two of those? Because that, especially you can get certified to actually treat Parkinson's patients with boxing. And so it's always been really intriguing to me because, kind of two things near and dear to my heart. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say, and speaking of research, the Parkinson's Foundation has the largest clinical study of Parkinson's ever conducted. It's called the Parkinson's Outcomes Project, and we've actually been tracking patients for the last decade. I mean, some of them we've been tracking for that long, and it's remarkable. There are, over 13,000 people enrolled in this study, and it's basically where we partner with centers of excellence all over the world. And patients complete, these questionnaires and surveys so that we can actually look at the data and see, okay, across the map, what's working well for people. And one of the findings, of course, has to do with exercise. So we found that people who are exercising a minimum of 2.5 hours per week are seeing a slowed decline in quality of life. And that's huge. I mean, when you think about how long you could potentially live with Parkinson's, you want to make sure that you are doing everything in your power to live well. The more you move, the better off you're going to be, working on strength, working on mobility, posture, all of these things. I also believe really strongly in physical therapy. I think physical therapy is one of the best interventions for somebody with a movement disorder. Physical therapists, especially ones who really specialize in sort of neurorehabilitation, they're able to identify and pick up on some of these minor impairments before they become bigger issues. And they give you, things that you can do to kind of work on those impairments, and then they can also recommend a good exercise plan. One of the things that we have here in Metro Atlanta, which is really, really exciting, is our PD Gladiators Fitness Network. I don't know if you're familiar.
I think I've heard of it, yeah.
But it's fantastic. So PD Gladiators was a grassroots organization founded by Larry and Ellie Kahn about 5 years ago. And Larry was a young onset person with Parkinson's, meaning he was, diagnosed under the age of 50. And he realized that, okay, there's all this research out there about the benefits of exercise, but why is nobody talking about it?
Right.
So he and his wife went on this mission, founded an organization that was really meant to focus on the benefits of exercise. They also knew that they needed to take it a step farther, right? So we want to talk about the benefits of exercise, but we also want to make exercise programs available to people with Parkinson's. So they founded PD Gladiators, and then one boxing class in Sandy Springs, which was part of the first program in the network, has now, and it's a little organization, Livermano Delgado Boxing Foundation. So one boxing class has now turned into a network of over 80 classes per week that are adapted for people with Parkinson's. So if you have Parkinson's, you can go to a YMCA and you can take a group cycling class. You can take a Parkinson's movement class. You can go to a dance studio in Cumming or Noonan. You can, so lots of options, whether you're a boxer, even if you're not, my mom was not a boxer. She would never claim to be a boxer. But now that she has Parkinson's, she is a boxer. And I'm very proud of her. And I'm so proud of all the people that walk into some of these classes. I mean, you really do see a transformation. You know, I've seen people walk in to a boxing class, kind of stooped over, slowly moving through the door. You know, some actually freeze before they even cross the threshold, because freezing can be another unfortunate, symptom or complication of Parkinson's. And then they get on a boxing bag, start punching the bag, and they're really, working on, it's kind of a mind game too. You work on sequencing, you work on punching, you're moving your feet, you're doing all these things. And by the end of the class, you see somebody who's kind of stooped over and moving slowly. You see them briskly moving out of the classroom. I mean, you can see the transformations happening, not just with boxing, but really with any kind of more vigorous exercise, that you can get to, that you can do it,
So we're going to take a break, Annie, and come back and talk a little bit more about the Parkinson's Foundation.
Great.
You're listening to The Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @GoodWorkShow.
Audience, welcome back to The Good Work Show. We've been having a great conversation with Annie Long, who is the Senior Community Program Manager for the Parkinson's Foundation here in Atlanta. And so we've been talking about the research that, the Parkinson's Foundation has been doing, how the organization came to be, of course, a little bit about the disease and how it manifests itself in people that have been diagnosed. But talk to us about some of the other work you're doing. So you have a program called PD Generation, and talk to us about what it is and the research that has been gathered to support the overall efforts of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So PD Generation, it's a new initiative. It was just launched this year, actually. We're focused on 6 pilot sites right now. So, really want to make sure that before we launch this to all 50 states, we want to make sure that, we've ironed out all the kinks and that, we know sort of the best way to proceed. So PD Generation is really the first of its kind genetic study, where we as the Parkinson's Foundation will be not only paying for genetic testing, but also paying for the genetic counseling through all of our centers of excellence across the country, as well as in a state where we don't have a center of excellence, we will actually have a designated study site or work site where people can go and get this testing done and get the counseling done. And the reason something like this is so important is because obviously with Parkinson's, the causes are still very much unknown. I think scientists can all agree that the cause is probably some sort of a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but there's no one thing that causes it. So the more we understand our genetic makeup, and, there are certain genes that are, of course, affected in Parkinson's or can be. About 10 to 15% of Parkinson's cases are considered to be genetic, genetically linked. So, for example, I'd be very curious to know if, my mom carries one of the mutations. But so the PD Generation, it's just really important. It's going to give us a better understanding of, perhaps what are some of the causes of Parkinson's, at least genetically, how we could then maybe tailor treatments, to sort of, if you have a better understanding of your genetic makeup, maybe you will be able to down the road have sort of a more tailored treatment approach, right? Than just sort of guessing what might work and what might not work. So it's really important. The genetic counseling will be offered in English and in Spanish, which is really cool. So, we're encouraging anybody with Parkinson's, once this is launched, it's not available here in Metro Atlanta yet, but it will eventually be available at Emory. Emory is our local center of excellence. So we encourage anyone with Parkinson's to get the testing, to really be empowered by having a better understanding of your genetic makeup so that you can share that information with your family. The other really cool thing about this is it's not just gonna, here's your information and now we're done. We're actually we have a secure server. We're going to store this classified information so that researchers will be able to actually apply to access, all of this DNA so that they can expedite clinical trials and do some of the things that they need to do, because unfortunately, the number one reason a lot of these clinical trials fail is lack of participation. You know, funding can always obviously be an issue, but lack of participation. So we're hoping that initiatives like this and just overall awareness will encourage more people to sort of take power, you know, just be empowered and have a better understanding of what's going on.
So the testing then is for people who already have been diagnosed.
Yes.
So it's not family and all that kind of stuff. It's people who've been diagnosed to kind of look at what's going on there, and not so much about kind of how you would test with other, you know, if somebody manifests with breast cancer or they do the genetic testing. So it's not down the line with the whole family. So it's not that. So it's...
Right. This is for people who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And the goal is to, again, offer this in all 50 states with the ultimate goal of enrolling 15,000 people. You know, so that's quite a bit of quite a bit of DNA to gather. So, you know, I look forward to seeing sort of the end result. I know that this is going to be a multi-year project and something that we're really, really excited about. It's really groundbreaking. So
cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
So one of the things I was, you know, looking at the website and thinking about, as I have a couple folks that I know that are dealing with their own health concerns at this time, is overall patient advocacy and research advocacy. And that's something that having a patient advocate, if you're ill and especially if you have something that requires different doctors and different treatments and different plans, and having somebody that's looking at your care holistically. And then similarly with the research. So talk to us a little bit about those roles and why it's so important when it comes to overall patient care.
Yeah, absolutely. So Parkinson's is a very complex disease. I think that we've already talked about it. You know, there's so many symptoms, so many things that can come into play. And you really need more than a neurologist. You know, you need to build a care team, you know, that could include a speech therapist, because people with Parkinson's usually develop, you know, sort of that soft voice, develop problems with swallowing. So a speech therapist can help address those things. Physical therapists, which I know we talked about, can really help, you know, address some of those more motor physical complications. And then, of course, you know, we recommend that people see a neurologist. Specifically, if you have access to a movement disorder specialist, you know, that's a very specialized neurologist who can really work with you on a good treatment plan. I know Emory here in Atlanta definitely has movement disorder specialists. They're great neurologists all over town, however. In addition to the speech therapist, physical therapist, occupational therapists, you know, these are individuals who can help you with just daily living activities that have become more challenging, you know, buttoning your shirt, brushing your teeth, blow drying your hair. I mean, things that, again, I think many of us just kind of take for granted. You know, these can really affect somebody's quality of life. So, you know, I say
mental
all that.
health as well.
And mental health is huge. So, you know, making sure that you have a mental health, whether it's mental health, you know, a therapist, a counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist, somebody on your care team who can really help you with some of those non-motor complications. And then, like you said, I mean, who is really going to help you pull all of these things together? Because it can be, not only can it be overwhelming to have this disease, but it can be really overwhelming to navigate the healthcare system and to figure out, you know, how much physical therapy can I actually get and what's covered under this. So one of the resources that we offer as an organization is our toll-free helpline. We actually have a team of people who work for the foundation, and they are on call Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time, to answer questions. You know, they want to, you know, they answer the phone. They talk to people about symptoms. They talk to people about medications, about when it might be time to see a physical therapist or a speech therapist. You can also email them at helpline@parkinson.org. So it's, you know, that from an advocacy standpoint, I would say our helpline staff, they're phenomenal. They're nurses, social workers. They have lots of experience in dealing with Parkinson's. And they are really, you know, I always tell people, keep the number on your fridge, keep it by your bed. You know, no question is too big or too small. You know, they really want to help. So that's a great resource from an advocacy perspective. I know we also have research advocates, you know, so we have people with Parkinson's or care partners who can actually join us as volunteers, and they can become research advocates in their communities. What our research advocates focus a lot on is again, educating themselves on clinical trials, what it means to get involved in research, why it's important. And then our volunteer research advocates will actually go out into their own communities and give presentations and talk to, friends and family about why it's so important to get involved in research.
That's fantastic. It's one of the things that, just going through other stuff or whatever, is just that the sheer volume of things that you don't know about something until you were thrown into it. And generally you're thrown into it and then you're dealing with it and trying to learn at the same, it's just really hard. So having a network of people who already kind of have that knowledge base is so valuable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, that's why I say no question is too small.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to necessarily jump online or, ask Dr. Google. You can go straight to the helpline team and they'll be able to assist. Our website is another fantastic resource. I mean, I remember when my mom was diagnosed, she had a horrible experience when she was diagnosed. I mean, it's not uncommon. She walked into an office. She thought she had essential tremor. She went by herself and, somebody came in the room and said, "You have Parkinson's," handed her a box of Kleenex and a prescription, said, "Take it or don't. We'll see you in 6 months." And that was literally the beginning of this journey. And so you can imagine, what did she do? Well, first she cried and she grieved and she did all of those things, but then she didn't know exactly where to turn. So she, jumped online and I think there's a lot of great information online and there can also be a lot of misinformation. So one of the great resources that I found right away was the Parkinson's Foundation. So Parkinson.org is a fantastic resource. And actually we just launched our newly diagnosed initiative. So excited about it, mainly because of my mom's story and so many stories like hers that I've heard where people were given no information, no tools. Parkinson's they say it's something that you live with and it's something that you can live well with. You just need the tools and you need the support and you need the information to get started and get off on the right foot. So the newly diagnosed initiative is brand new. It's something that, again, some of our advocates, identified this is a real need. We need to make sure that people who are newly diagnosed have access to tools and resources. So we created a newly diagnosed kit. So anybody can go on the website, parkinson.org/newly diagnosed. You can order your newly diagnosed kit. You can actually access a community forum where you can talk to other people who have been newly diagnosed. There's a video on there. Of course, you call the helpline, so there are lots of resources. And, I think it can go one of two ways. When you're first diagnosed, you can either be overwhelmed with information or you can receive no information. So this is a really good, it's a really positive and good way to sort of introduce, this new journey, is kind of what I like to call it. So.
Well, great. Well, Annie, it's been a pleasure. I personally look forward to learning more about the foundation, but thank you for being on the show.
Yeah.
And Parkinson.org for anybody who wants to go on the website, learn more. We appreciate you coming to the Good Work Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're listening to the Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @GoodWorkShow.
Welcome back to the Good Work Show, everybody. We are excited to be sitting here with Brianna Lathrop. I'm so glad I asked you to do that because I probably would have butchered it up. I've been known for that.
No problem.
Brianna Lathrop, and she is the Chief Operating Officer for Good Samaritan Health Center. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So just so you know, Brianna and I have already been talking about her earrings. Just in case you haven't noticed them, she has great earrings on. And we both have on leaves today.
We do. We coordinate with our leaves.
Nobody told me.
Well, we didn't know. I just literally met her, and we didn't know we had on leaves today.
Fine.
Next time.
Yeah,
I like my earrings.
they're nice.
Me too.
They're nice. Yeah. Okay, so back to the show. So tell us about the Good Samaritan Health Center and your mission.
Sure. Good Samaritan Health Center is a health center on the west side of Atlanta with a mission of spreading Christ's love through quality health care to those in need. We have medical, dental, behavioral health, health education. We have an urban farm and a farmer's market. And through partnership with the YMCA of Metro Atlanta, are opening a fitness center for our community as well.
Oh,
Nice. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about the history of the organization and how it came to be.
So back in about 1998, Dr. Bill Warren, our founder and still full-time pediatrician at Good Samaritan, was working in private practice in Sandy Springs and really felt God's call on his life to make sure that that same level of high-quality health care was available to people regardless of whether or not they had insurance. So he left his private practice and founded what became Good Samaritan Health Center. It opened its doors in 1999, and we've been growing and serving Metro Atlanta ever since.
Wow. So you told us a little bit about what you offer there, but just walk us through the services. So if someone, do they get referred to you? Can they walk in? Just kind of tell us about the process and how they get to you and what they might be able to receive there.
People come to us from all sorts of avenues. Some live in the community. They walk over, they find us, learn about us. We have partnerships with a large number of organizations throughout the community. So sometimes we receive referrals. And when patients come, they enter usually either through our medical services or dental. Sometimes they come to our farmers market. Sometimes they might show up for a health education activity. Any door they come through is a great way to find us and connect to the services that they need. So I'll kind of walk you through our full circle of care model that helps describe what we do and what we offer at Good Samaritan. First, on the medical side, we are a patient-centered medical home, so we're nationally recognized, which means that we follow patients through their entire lifespan. So we do pediatrics, prenatal care. We do a lot of chronic disease management like diabetes, high blood pressure. We offer your routine screenings like get your mammogram and your Pap test done. And we also then link patients into our educational programming to learn more about what changes can you make in your life that help promote your health. So we have prenatal classes and diabetes classes, and also a lot of fun, exciting classes like fitness. We have a glow-in-the-dark fitness class that our health programs manager, Anthony, runs upstairs in our workout space. In our dental side, we do everything from your routine, like hygiene, cleaning type care, as well as full restoration and dental, dentures, building crowns and bridges. Our behavioral health department includes full-time counseling and part-time psychiatry services. And finally, we're really moving towards saying that, health isn't just about medicines and diagnoses, but it's really about the environment we live in, those social determinants of health, where we work, where we play, where we grow, where we learn. And so really trying to build those bridges, both within Good Sam as well as with our partners, to be able to offer a farmer's market. We have an urban farm, 2 full-time farmers that produce affordable, healthy food for the community. And that's open if you're a patient or you're just walking by, come get something to bring home and prepare for your family. Opening a gym in partnership with the YMCA, allowing people to have a safe place to exercise, and then working with partners to help with referrals for resources such as housing. Those types of things that we're not able to offer at Good Sam necessarily, but being able to talk to our community and our patients to say your health is a big picture, and let's talk about all of it because all of it matters.
Yeah, that's
Wonderful.
pretty cool. It's very comprehensive.
I know. You can just go there and
Whack
stay.
on in.
Yeah.
One-stop shop,
Right.
we like to say.
And you called it a medical home. Is that a technical term, or I just never heard of it?
Sure. So a patient-centered medical home is a national recognition that really certifies that a clinic is meeting the highest quality standards for really comprehensive patient-centered care. But for us, the kind of takeaway from that is this idea that we care about the whole person and that we have designed what we do to meet the needs of the people that are seeking care there. And so sometimes that means, for example, on Fridays, instead of operating kind of a traditional, you have an appointment at a certain time, we've revamped everything to meet the specific needs of individuals experiencing homelessness in the community. So it's a walk-in clinic. It's fully integrated, meaning that dental, medical, and behavioral health are all practicing simultaneously. So you might see 3 different people during your office visit. We also dispense medication so that if you're prescribed something, you can actually go home with that medication. We have a certified peer specialist. We even have some art therapy. We serve breakfast, just really creating a space that first says, you matter, you're respected, and we care about you. And everything else comes from that. But we start with the sense that people matter.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's really great. So tell us a little bit. So when people come to you, whether, folks experiencing homelessness or people you said who may or may not have insurance, how does payment work? I mean, it's,
It's a
not
great
free.
question. It's not free.
We all know healthcare is not free.
And I also just think that this is only possible because of the huge amount of support we have from donors, grants, foundations, just the local community supporting what we do. But when patients come, they pay on what we call a sliding scale fee, meaning what you pay is based on your ability to pay. So for our patients experiencing homelessness, when they bring in a verification of that, they don't pay anything. Most of our patients pay between about $40 and $100 for a full service visit, which includes like all the lab work, everything that the provider wants to do. Once they're back with the provider, our goal is that that provider performs the best care they can, and they're not worried about cost. So we wrap it all into that set visit, and then for the fundraising, we make up the rest. On our dental side, we have a fee chart. So we'll sit down and make a treatment plan with the patient and say, these are the recommendations. This is the order we would do it in. This is what each step costs. And that way patients know up front, and then they can figure out what's the right time in my life to have this part done versus this part. Extractions, heal from that before we do some of the denture work, for example. So we really try to be affordable and transparent and make our services accessible to folks regardless of whether or not they have insurance. The majority of people seeking care at Good Samaritan don't have insurance.
So do the physicians and doctors that are working there, are they on staff at Good Samaritan, or are they volunteers?
Great question. Some of both.
Okay.
So we do have a team of about 5 full-time providers that are there all the time. This is their full-time job. I'm a nurse practitioner. I spend about 50% of my time in direct patient care. Okay. And so these are families, people that we know for years and years. You know, we've delivered baby 1 and now we're on to baby 2, and the child sees our pediatrician and we see grandma. To me, one of the best things is that full family. We all know each other and we partner together on this journey towards better health. We are really thankful to have a lot of volunteers that step up and help us. Some of this are student groups that come and do a competitive internship program and support our staff. We also have volunteer providers. Some of them augment our primary care capacity, but a lot of them build in specialty services like cardiology, orthopedics, gastroenterology, services that would be really difficult for our patients to find elsewhere, but they're able to do that in-house because these providers volunteer to spend a day or 2 a month with us offering a specialty clinic.
Yes, great. Well, shout out to all the volunteers who were doing that. I mean, that's a huge, and it's a huge opportunity too, I'm sure, for others who might be looking for ways to give back. Cool.
Yes.
So tell us, so you mentioned some of the fitness classes and whatever. So tell us about some of the other stuff that you're offering there, including, what's in the ground at the farmer's market, at the farm right now. What else can people experience if they're coming there and they don't need a visit? They just want to come and see what else you have to offer.
Yeah, so we end up harvesting about 13,000 pounds of produce, everything from potatoes and carrots to herbs. This is kind of our slower season, but even during the winter season, we usually have pop-up markets. And then in the spring, we'll start running full-time every day of the week. And we also accept SNAP dollars, and we can double the SNAP dollars. So just, again, making it an affordable place for folks to buy produce. We offer a couple classes a week right now in our upstairs fitness room, but the big center is on target to open hopefully next month. Okay. And then it'll be, a full-time like a YMCA. You'll be able to go and work out individually or attend those classes. We also have a variety of classes for folks that are pre-diabetic, that want to prevent diabetes. A couple different Saturday programs that they can participate in to kind of say, let's reduce those risk factors now and prevent this from becoming something that I have to manage down the road. So those are all ways that the community can come and get involved and see what we do.
Yeah. So, Brianna, we got about 2 minutes left. One, I think we should tell people how to find you if they are in need or know somebody who is. How do they get connected? Where do they go? And then, I think it would be great to talk to volunteers or people who might be interested, whether they're in the medical field or maybe they're looking for that internship, and figure out how they can get connected to you as well.
Yes. So whether you're interested in connecting to us as a volunteer or a donor or as a patient, starting with our website, which is goodsamatlanta.org, is great. It's really been made to be very user-friendly. So there's volunteer applications on there, how to become a donor, as well as how to become a patient, what you can expect to pay, what services. So that's probably the best place to just get all the information in one spot. We also invite you to stop by. Tell us you want a tour. Ask our guest services team about our services and what you might qualify to receive. We're on Donnelly Howell at the corner of Howell and Lowry. We're big, we're accessible, and with our new kind of outdoor green space and farm, come take a walk, come see what we're about. I'll also put a plug in that for any woman living in DeKalb or Fulton County, in the month of February, we are offering free Pap smears, Pap tests, and mammograms. So, contact us, reach out, and let us know how we can help you. We'd love to connect with our community.
Well, that's fantastic. And thank you for doing that. I mean, that's huge. Month of February is all about women's health. There's heart health. But I think just offering those services, especially, they're expensive. I mean, they're very expensive. So to be able to offer that for free is huge. So good reminder for those who are living in Fulton and DeKalb who might need those services to definitely check you out in February. So cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. GoodSamATL.org, right?
GoodSamAtlanta.org.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You're listening to The Good Work Show.
To learn more about the show and how your company can tell their story, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @Good Work Show.